Okay, here's a wild thought. What if the Roman Empire rose again? Now I know, it sounds like some crazy sci-fi movie, but we're going to explore this as a very real political and economic project. So, forget about time-traveling legions or anything like that. We're talking about a modern blueprint for reviving Roman-style power. So let's just get right to it. What would it actually look like to bring back the core ideas of the Roman Empire today, in a world run by AI with all the pressures of climate change? That's the thought experiment we're diving into.
But, before we can even begin to look forward, we have to look back. To understand what a new Rome could be, we first need the original blueprint, the rules, the patterns that led to its unbelievable rise, and of course, its legendary fall.
I mean, Rome's journey from just a few villages to a global superpower was a masterclass in adaptation. It starts small, then morphs into a republic. Then, after these absolutely brutal Punic Wars, it basically owned the Mediterranean. And all of that paved the way for the famous Pax Romana. We're talking 2 whole centuries of relative peace and stability.
And this, right here, this is the key. You can kind of boil down Rome's entire history, its DNA, into these 2 columns. On one side, you've got the genius moves, flexible institutions, that incredible synergy between the military and infrastructure, and this amazing ability to include conquered peoples. But on the other side, those are the warnings. Stretching too far, corruption hollowing everything out, a fragile economy, and people just losing faith in the whole system. These are the lessons we got to carry forward.
All right, so we've got the blueprint. Now the fun part starts. Let's begin the simulation. What would happen if we actually tried to apply these Roman models to our world today?
So let's be clear about what we're talking about. Let's call it a neo-Roman project, a huge integrated block of countries, probably centered on Europe and the Mediterranean. And I have to stress, the goal here isn't conquest. It's deep integration, using those old Roman playbooks for things like law, infrastructure, and even creating a new shared identity.
And this slide, it just nails the whole idea. The Roman roads that tied the empire together, well today, that's high-speed rail. The aqueducts that brought life to cities, that's our integrated energy grids. And the Roman legal code that made trade possible across thousands of miles, that's the shared AI and data standards that would power a modern economy. See? It's the same logic, just with way better technology.
So, what would this thing actually feel like to live in? Well, you could imagine a common legal system, maybe like a beefed-up European Union, a single digital backbone for AI across the entire block, a new kind of layered identity, where you could be, say, both German and Roman, and of course, a unified defense against modern threats like cyber attacks.
But here it is, the first huge warning sign from the history books. Rome's greatest strength was pulling everything together. But when the central government got too rigid, too disconnected from what was happening on the ground, it started to crack. Any modern version that forgets that lesson is going to face backlash, and fast.
Okay, so let's apply this model to our first great modern challenge, artificial intelligence. How would a new Rome, a neo-Roman bloc, handle the most powerful technology of our time?
I mean, the opportunity is just massive. A unified bloc could create one set of rules for AI, unleashing a huge single market. It would have the sheer scale to pour billions into R&D to compete globally, and it could all be done under a shared legal umbrella that protects people's privacy and safety.
But, and it's a big but, here's the dangerous flip side. Just like Rome's provinces became totally dependent on the capital, smaller nations could become digital provinces, completely reliant on the bloc's AI platforms, with almost no say in how they're run.
And there's another risk, and this one is straight out of the late Roman playbook. What if this powerful new AI infrastructure gets controlled by a tiny, unaccountable group of elites? It could be corporate, it could be political, doesn't matter. You'd see the exact same patterns of corruption and self-dealing that completely hollowed out the original empire from the inside.
All right, let's switch gears from the digital to the physical world. Let's talk about our second grade challenge, climate change. Could the Roman model of massive, coordinated engineering give us a blueprint for survival? Time to look at the new aqueducts.
The potential here is just incredible. I mean, just picture it. Coordinated seawalls and water management for the entire Mediterranean. Shared energy corridors, bringing solar power from sunny southern Europe up to the north. And supply chains built from day one to be tough and resilient. This is Roman-scale thinking applied to our biggest existential threat. But that historical warning is just as sharp here. In the late empire, the rich core regions often protected themselves while the outer provinces were exploited and left to fend for themselves.
A modern climate block could easily fall into that same trap, creating climate-safe havens for the wealthy while everyone else bears the brunt of the chaos.
And you can see the pressure building right here. Just like barbarian migrations and economic crises strained the old empire to its breaking point, modern pressures, water shortages, energy demands, climate-driven migration could easily shatter the solidarity of any new union if it isn't built to be fair from the start.
Okay, so we've run the simulation, we've seen the potential, and we've seen the pitfalls. Now let's bring it all back to the real world. What are the key lessons we can take away for today?
So, for any leader thinking about large-scale projects today, the message from Rome is crystal clear. Yes, absolutely, build the shared systems, the laws, the infrastructure, but you have to explicitly reject the mindset of empire and hierarchy. You have to build flexible institutions that can actually adapt. Because if you don't invest in fairness and legitimacy, you're just doomed to repeat the same mistakes that brought Rome down. It really just boils down to this simple mantra for anyone building our future. Think like a Roman engineer. Build durable, practical things that serve everybody. Don't think like a Roman conqueror, who's just focused on flashy prestige projects that are built on exploitation.
So let's just zoom out to the big picture here. If any part of the Roman Empire is going to rise again, it's not going to be with legions and emperors. It's going to be through the quiet but incredibly powerful work of building shared institutions, integrated infrastructure, and a common sense of identity.
And at the end of the day, that's really the ultimate takeaway. This isn't about nostalgia. It's not about rebuilding an empire for its own sake. The smartest thing we can do is learn from Rome, both its incredible successes and its catastrophic failures, to build systems that can actually survive the pressures of our world.
Which leaves us with one last, massive question. History has shown us again and again the incredible power of integration, but almost every time it's come with the terrible price of empire. So, the challenge for us, for our generation, is to figure out if we can finally get one without paying for it with the other.